Good morning. Here is Marie Latour. I'm going to start in a few minutes. I'll be presenting for the next 30 minutes, and you then will be able to ask questions. You will be able to, so you can write your questions during my presentation on the question panel, or you can raise your hand at the end of my presentation, so I can open the floor and you can ask your question orally. So I'm Marie Latour. I'm the director of Zabala Brussels. I work in Brussels since 2002, and I joined Zabala in 2014, when the previous multi-annual financial framework started. So my presentation today is going to be split in several parts. I will remind a bit of some European contexts, then explain you who is Zabala. Then I explain the service of positioning we are giving, particularly from Brussels office, and why maybe Zabala is the right partner for you to enter in collaborative projects. And then we'll have time for some Q&A. I expect my presentation to be about 30 minutes, and we should end up around 11:15 max. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to your questions. So next slide. So a bit of European context. So as you know, the European Commission is in place for 5 years, and it always sets a different number of priorities, and the ones set by Ursula von der Leyen Commission are 6 priorities. And mainly, the main ones are the 2 first one, Green Deal and Europe Fit for the Digital Age. And of course, since last year with the pandemic, the necessity for a recovery plan for Europe came up and has become a key priority for the European Commission for the next years. One of the way to implement European policy is a strong budget, and while the Commission is changing every 5 years, the budget is renewed every 7 years. And this year is the first of a 7-year, the 7-year multi-annual financial period. And back in 2018, there was an initial proposal from the Commission for this 7-year budget, which is called the multi-annual financial framework. And the proposal was to have a trillion, so 1,000 billion budget. And with the pandemic, it was clear that additional funding would be required to recover the pandemic. So the member states, Parliament agreed on an additional 750 billion euros, split in grants and loans, as you may well know, to recover faster from the pandemic. How is this next generation actually going to be spent? Well, we have a large part which is going to be transferred directly to the member states, 672 billion euros. And we have another share of this next generation budget, which is actually increasing the budget of existing programs directly managed by the European Commission, which are the ones you can see here. Today we're talking about innovation and how to become partner of collaborative innovation projects. And so there will be different programs that can be of interest. Here in this slide, I want to show where actually the European budget is going in terms of European programs managed by the European Commission. So the total budget directly managed by the Commission is 1,210 billion euros, and here is in current prices. You may see different figures from a presentation to another. Many times is presented in 2018 prices, and here is converting to current prices. So the largest share of this budget is going to a first priority, which is cohesion, resilience, and values, with some very well-known programs such as the European Regional Development Fund, European Social Fund, but also had some health programs, Interreg, and Erasmus Plus, etc. Then the second largest priority is natural resources and environment, which includes the Common Agricultural Policy or the LIFE program, for instance, or Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund. And a third priority is the single market innovation and digital economy, where we find very well-known programs such as Horizon Europe that replaced Horizon 2020, the new Digital Europe program, the space program, or the Connecting Europe facility, for instance. And then you have other priorities related to neighborhood, of course, some budget for the management of the European institution and administration, some a priority related to migration and management of borders, and also some fund allocated to programs in the area of resilience, security, and defense. So you see there are a lot of different programs available at European level. And one particular program which is of our interest for especially the presentation today is Horizon Europe, which is the main funding program for research and innovation. For the next 7 years, more than 95 billion euros has been allocated to this program, of which 5 come from the Next Generation program, which will actually have to be spent in the next, or committed in the next 4 years. How is Horizon Europe structured? You have 3 main pillars: excellence, science, global challenges, and innovative Europe. And of the total 95 billion euros, half of it goes to Pillar 2. So this is really the cornerstone of Horizon Europe. Well, this is a little bit an idea of some programs and where the money goes at European level. Probably it may often look like that, to be complex, and well, actually our role is to help you to be guided through this this innovation journey. And we do it through the services we offer. Also, we develop some guides which are public. You have this one which has been published in March, which gives you much more, many more details than what I could present to you today about the different programs of the European Union. So explaining you how this budget over 7 years is going to be split. So I invite you to download it on our website. But also we've published last week, I believe, a guide which shows you the list of the 700 topics which we can find under the Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. So it's more than 700 topics. A topic is basically the description of a future European project. And so over the year 21-22, there will be 700 calls basically for collaborative projects, also very important for my presentation of today. But so this document is, so we've collected all the drafts that we have, that are known and that are available today, and we put it together in this document, which you can download as well on zabala.eu. I hope it would be useful for you. So who is Zabala? Firstly, we are a European international consultancy organization. We exist since 35 years, and we have now offices across the world in 13 locations. We are today more than 330 professionals. We are growing fast. Back in 2014, when I joined Zabala, we were 180, and so it's a fast-growing consultancy. We've served more than 8,000 clients in those 35 years, and last year revenues reached 20 million euros. This is where we are located. Our headquarters are in Pamplona in Spain. We actually opened Brussels office back in 2003, finding it as a strategic place to be for a consultancy that wants to be a leader in European programs. Then we opened across Spain, and in the recent years, the opening of offices has been rather abroad in France, UK, and Colombia. So we deliver different services to our clients. Our key activity has been and is the access to public funding for projects. And we also now develop propose innovation consultancy services. Public funding for projects involves different types of services, such as detection of funding opportunities, and very importantly, support to proposal writing, and then support to the project management during its implementation. The positioning service, which I'm going to talk about today. But we also provide other support activities in projects, such as destination, communication activities, support to the exploitation of projects results. In terms of innovation consultancy, well, we help to manage some European technology platforms. We develop different studies for some public administration, for instance, for their smart specialization strategy for some regional governments. We also help clients, companies to develop their own innovation strategy. Today, I'm going to concentrate on the positioning service. This service, we actually started to develop it about 10 years ago. We've been giving it to those clients that were coming to us, and which we realized that what they needed was not necessarily to lead or coordinate projects, which was our main offer, but to be a partner. And they really appeared as good strategic partners for projects, but they were clearly not in a position or willing to coordinate projects. So we developed a methodology with them to help them become strategic partners of projects. So it's really a service for stepping in collaborative projects. You have three main types of partners in those projects. Coordinators, which are leading the project, giving the important direction of the project, which is interface to the European Commission, to the executive agencies managing and following the project implementation, which deal with the administrative aspects, financial reporting of the project as well. Then you have co-partners. Typically, this can be demo leaders or work package leaders of the project. And you have other types of partners which add value to the consortia, but which have not necessarily as core role as demo leaders or work package leaders. Well, actually, our position service is targeting specifically, especially those entities that wish to become core partners of projects. And sometimes also it could be that they could add a value to a consortia, but without necessarily becoming demo leaders or work package leaders, for instance. So how is this positioning service working? So clearly, the idea is to enlarge the client influence in European projects to help him step in an increasing number of projects in many times in not necessarily only its areas where it already has an experience, but for instance for new areas where we have some clients that come to us saying, okay, we are a recognized partner in the energy sector, but we believe we can bring and added value in also in other sectors such as transport, smart cities. And so can you help us through this process, because we don't have the right connection, we don't know the right players, and we need someone like you who has experience in various sectors to help us know who are the right players we should interact with to be part of those consortia. So we help the client to become a key partner for projects in those strategic areas of interest it has. So we work in several steps: identifying the strategic capacities of the client, identifying then who should be the strategic partner they should work with, detect opportunities, and help them stepping projects proposals first. So we do it in several phases. When we initiate the service, we have a preparatory phase, which we estimate more or less 2 months necessary for this initial phase. And it's also when we have a contract that goes on across several years, there is always a time every year to review also the planning. So we will be undertaking different activities during this preparatory phase. First, and very important, is to know where the client wants to be active in the future. Some clients can have can add value in many different sectors. Maybe have a transversal kind of role, for instance, an ICT company. But it's important to understand in which sector we should start to work with them, so as to prioritize the efforts. Without prioritization, we will aim at many different sectors, and the possibility to get results will be reduced. So we really advise the clients first to understand which are the areas they think we should go we should start with. And for some clients we accompany since many years, these priorities, they evolve year after year. So after this first step, then we're going to be working with the client on developing a presentation of its capacities in these strategic areas. Can be to show its experience with commercial clients or in other EU projects. Is really to have a material to be able to sell basically the client to future coordinator of projects. And so it needs to be adapted to the EU project context and the type of information that a coordinator or another key partner of project is interested in getting, to take a decision whether this entity can add value for their consortia. We are going to develop after that, in particular after defining the strategic areas, we are going to develop a funding roadmap that will serve as a guide throughout the year with a complete set of funding opportunities that we have agreed with the client that this is where we should aim at positioning the client as a partner of projects. So we review basically typically programs and then topics of interest for the client, and we develop a planning according to those opportunities to set some priorities in time for contacting partners. As another important preparatory activity, once we have the strategic areas, we have the topics that are of interest, we're going to work on our side in identifying those entities that we are going to be willing to contact in the future. So who are the key coordinators, the key partners from already funded projects, so those that have already experienced and we expect they will continue to work and wish to present to future projects. We review some relevant technology platforms, partnership, or European associations where those entities are moving themselves. And so we developed this database of entities and people actually that are behind projects in these areas. And so this we do through a very regular and intense cooperation during this first phase with the client, with some weekly meetings to review the progress of tasks. As the next phase, we enter into a more continuous support, working from the preparatory work we've done in the initial phase. And so we send regular information on European programs, on calls, on results of evaluation from a specific area which can be of interest. Another activity we start is to organize meetings between our client and these entities we have identified and found as priority contact whom to introduce the client. We will then follow up with these entities we contacted. And another activity we propose is to participate to events to capture information, but also to network on that occasion. And this is particularly why we do it from Brussels, because many of these events are in Brussels. Actually, the good news is that today yesterday the Belgian government announced that from the 9th of June, telework is not mandatory anymore in Belgium. This means we are going to start to see progressively more and more events, hopefully in Brussels again in the future. We reduce a bit a number of meetings, so we go to more monthly meetings. So this is still very regular and require a very close collaboration between our consultants and the client. In these meetings, we exchange on the latest opportunities, news we've been sharing that the client would like to comment with us. We review the planning of the meetings and what's the results from the previous meetings. We review the planning of the events we have identified, who's going to participate, the client, us on behalf of the client, and of course answering any question. And then we propose ad hoc services according to the client needs. Maybe some tailor-made trainings on some EU programs for the client's teams, maybe to contact some EU officials or executive agencies officers or some national contact points. We also sometimes been helping the client to understand what's the process to influence the work program definition. So we might explain them how they could potentially in the future influence this work program and advise them on some actions to take. And some clients even have asked us some legislative monitoring as part of the support activity for this position. So you see it's a very modular type of service. We really first try to understand what's the actual need of the client. Do you need to step in a few projects? Is your objective to be in 2-3 projects per year? Or is it to become really a strong influential entity at European level in a large amount of spheres, I would say. And so really the success factor of this service comes from the very close team cooperation. And so that we are becoming in the year, month after month, year after year, like part of your team, which brings the expertise that we have in all Zabala. And actually why Zabala, we are very well equipped to give these services. This comes first from our experience and the size of our, what we have been able to deliver. We are active since 35 years, and today we are the first Spanish SME in terms of return in H2020. But most importantly, we have been submitting more than 800 proposals to EU programs during the previous financial period. So this help us develop, so first, many opportunities to involve you as partner of projects. And second, it helps us to develop a very large network of contacts for future project opportunities and to promote our client as potential partner. Our success rate is very high. We triple the European average, and overall the return has been more than 700 million for the previous financial framework period for all EU programs we applied proposals to. We are also a large team. Of the 330 consultants in Zabala, more than 100 of them, and this is growing every day, is belonging to the European Program Department. So this is 100 consultants that are only dedicated to EU programs and projects. We are organized in 12 knowledge areas, which I will explain you afterwards, that are split across all EU teams, so across our 12 European offices. And we monitor not only Horizon Europe, we monitor more than 20 European programs, which allows us to advise the clients not only on where they can step in Horizon Europe, but other programs that might better fit their actual need in terms of adequacy of funds. The 12 knowledge areas of expertise we have, here you can see the idea of these knowledge areas to create teams. So we have teams of 5-10 people sometimes, according to the dimension of each and the workload, I would say, or the number of sub-programs there might be in a certain field. And the role of these experts is to know very well the program, anticipate the goals, develop very strong relations with national contact points or program committee members, know the stakeholders active in a specific area, the platforms, the entities that are very active in an area, and to transfer all this knowledge across the 100 consultants active in EU programs in Zabala. As I said before, we monitor more than 20 European programs, which give us a very complete understanding of various complementary funding opportunities at European level. The way we work, so we have a consultant assigned to each client, which is closely working with his team manager or her team manager, and together they will work very closely with the client, but benefiting from the expertise from the rest of EU program team, the knowledge area experts, but also legal experts or financial experts on EU programs. A last point to mention, we are also participating either as coordinator or as partner of some platforms, which gives us a very strong positioning and capacity to also help you as client to be positioned. This is where we have an active role or where we are a member, but then we have contacts to many more platforms and European associations, partnerships that are funded under the Horizon Europe program, for instance. So, well, oh yes, and not to forget, we have developed a tool, Kayla, which you might know. You can access on kayla.eu. It's a it's a platform looking at open data on funded projects and funding opportunities. So it's monitoring constantly future and past also funding opportunities, looking at the projects that were funded across many different programs, so Horizon 2020, FP7, LIFE, various other European programs. And this allows to detect potential innovation partners. So it's a tool we use also to help develop the service in positioning, but also in our traditional advice service, which you can also use yourself by registering on Kaila. So, well, if becoming a strategic partner in European Pershing is what you're looking for, well, probably we might be able to help, and I'm happy to answer any question. You can ask the question writing on the question panel, which you should be able to access. I don't see any question yet, or you can simply raise your hand, and I'll be happy to open the floor and let you speak. So I'm going to see how I can. There is already any raised hands. Any comment, question on my presentation is welcome. So please feel free also to write to me, to send me your questions by mail. I try to see the question. I don't have. It's not very easy. I'm going to try to make them bigger. So I have a first question from, I'm not sure whom. Marie, thank you for presentation. We're looking for the best coordinator in the field. How do you identify those? Are there always warm contacts? It's a mix. Let's say that we have coordinators with whom we are working regularly. So these are, of course, the ones which are easy, but they are not the only ones which are relevant. So what we do is really to identify what could be the best entities. And the idea is not only to say, okay, my client has interest to enter this project as to enter for this topic, but is really to try to make two institutions meet together and get to know each other. It might be for that topic, it might be for a future one. But the idea is to try put in contact our client with different key institutions, key research centers, which we believe this client can, and this institution can be interested to meet because of the added value that this client can bring to future projects. So it's not only warm contact, it's not only existing contacts. It might be sometimes an entity we work with when we were preparing a proposal. So we use a lot our own network. Sometimes we simply contact through LinkedIn or other different networks that we are identifying. So it's a mix strategy. I'm gonna check if there are more. So thanks, Carmen, for the first question. There is another one, very interesting. Could you elaborate further in the strategy you follow to connect with the coordinator of proposals? what specific action you take to identify strong proposals. We really look at, in particular, funded projects from the past. We look at who are the recurrent coordinators, partners. We study those projects, looking at what type of role each partner played. We also look whether these entities are active in some platforms, some partnerships, to see how serious they are and implicated they are in their field. So it's especially those that are active in partnerships or technology platforms where they have an influential role in upcoming work programs, for instance. So we know these are serious partners, engaged entities in research and innovation, prioritization for the future. So it's this type of appreciation we make when advising on the entities which are which we could recommend our client to be put in contact with. I hope this answers your question. Leakers, I think I answered the first question you had. You are asking, so you also actively put clients into contact with the best in the field by organizing meetings, for example? Yes. GDPR is an obstacle. We use the legal means we have. In European projects, when we identify, for instance, relevant former projects, you can often find out who is the coordinator. You might contact him through LinkedIn, or we might have a previous contact with that person from a previous proposal. We might have the contact of a colleague in that institution that can put us in contact. So the people are, it's not easy, and that's why this is a service that is requires time and dedication, but we usually we often have at least one or two contacts in an institution. So and these people left their contact, so we are totally they left their contact when they prepared a proposal with us. So this is legally possible, because in that case we have the right to contact them again, having their contact priorly. So yeah, this is not too much of a barrier. There is another question from Carmen. How long does it take for you to have successful results for a client? Very good question. Identification of priorities, cause, preparation of projects, waiting for results, low % of approved projects, all this can make the process really long. Well, indeed, it's not a process that will take just a few months. My experience is that after 2 years, we start to have very strong, tangible results. The first year is, in 1 year, it's difficult, simply because indeed you might be in some proposals that are not successful due to the success rates. And it takes time before being able to reach out a significant amount of potential partners. So the first year is really to build the base, and in the second year we start to see the fruits of the work undertaken. So I would say it's a minimum, a journey together of 2 years if you want to get some results. And with a strong cooperation, as you have seen, it's also requiring a strong intention from the management to step in a significant way in European projects. and to be accompanied by a company like us that have the experience of doing it and the network of contacts that is not necessarily easy to have, and the information and the knowledge of the areas that we can generate inside Zabala through the knowledge area teams. Okay, I think I reviewed all questions. I'm not sure. Yes. Well, thank you very much for your participation. I hope this was useful for you.